And I have to tell you, Obamacare is really, I think, the worst thing that has happened in this nation since slavery. And it is, in a way, it is slavery, in a way.
Ah, yes, the Values Voter Summit, a socially conservative collective held every year in Washington and named after two things that Republicans don't seem to have much of at the moment: values and voters. Today's opening of the three-day event included a who's who of 2016 possibilities, including Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Paul Ryan and Marco Rubio. At least 5 in all, assuming you include the great Rick Santorum, who's scheduled to speak in a moment. Ted Cruz, of course, was the star attraction, at least if you were a protester at the event, where he was heckled and interrupted on at least, by our count, 7 separate occasions. And if there was an overriding theme for today's event, it is that these men and women are the true Americans, and the President of the United States is quite clearly not.
You remember the early Christian martyrs, our disciples, the disciples of Christ. It's almost as if that is happening again throughout the Middle East. This administration does nothing to stop it, and it can be argued that they are giving aid and comfort to those who tolerate these crimes.
Joining us now is Hogan Gidley, a Republican strategist, unfortunately for him, and Julian Epstein, a Democratic strategist. Hogan, if I might, I'd like to share with you some of the things I have learnt today from the Values Voter Summit. First, Conservatives are the actual majority. Second, the President is helping to arm a war on the Christian faith. Third, the Affordable Care Act is the equivalent of slavery. How's that going for rebranding, Hogan?
Yeah, that's probably not the brand we want to start with, and it's definitely not the one we want developed for if we have any hope of winning future elections. Look, I listened to Rand Paul, and he's an interesting character. I obviously live in South Carolina. I'm in D.C. right now, and I go out and listen to all these candidates on the stump, too, because they come to the early primary state of South Carolina, and they want to get their message out early on. The day after DOMA, the day after Prop 8, and the day after they voted on immigration reform, Rand Paul came to South Carolina and talked solely about he wasn't his daddy on foreign policy. I think what you're seeing from him is attacked in that direction. He's trying to beef up his bravado, if you will, on the foreign stage and say, I will go to war, but he hasn't addressed any of the values that a lot of the voters there are here to hear, are there to hear him talk
Hogan,
about.
With respect, I mean, what about Dr. Ben Carson saying the Affordable Care Act is the equivalent of slavery?
Sure. Look, I'm not going to defend...
What about the fact that they are accusing the President of the United States, himself a committed Christian, read his autobiography, see his church attendance, ask him the question, they say he's waging a war on Christianity?
Look, I was at all these speeches. I heard everybody talk. That has not been the central theme. I understand you're picking out a few things here and there, and those are the most salacious of all the language that we've heard. But for the most part, I'm not getting that from these people.
Okay, well, Hogan, forgive me, sir, but I, like you, was watching the speeches very carefully. Indeed, I've reread the transcripts in order to give them due credit where they've been quoted. But if my theme is wrong, what was the theme today? What was it?
Right. I think they're actually taking a more economic tone in this Value Voter Summit, which I was actually kind of blown away by. It's something we've been talking about for years in the Huckabee camps and the Santorum camps, inextricably linking, values to the economy, and how children born out of wedlock don't help the economy at all, in the sense that they're born into poor families. They have a rougher time getting a good education, end up going to a large majority of them have a problem with crime. Those are the things they're talking about for the most part. Now, I completely understand that the branding issue we have, the problems we have, is really not being helped right now, because those who are more pragmatic in a sense are being treated as traitors and not worth anything. And the fiery rhetoric is winning the day right now. But there's a large contingent over there that's not buying that.
Okay, so let's Julian, you've been incredibly patient. The floor is yours, sir.
Let's just do a reality check. I mean, I haven't seen so much self-denial since Karl Rove on election night. The Republican Party, after the last election fiasco, talked about rebranding, having a kinder, gentler, more moderate message. And all of this rhetoric that we're seeing today is going in exactly the opposite direction. And if there's one way to diagnose the problems of the Republican Party since 2011, it is that they are increasingly speaking to a very narrow swath of the electorate, somewhere between about 20 and 25%, according to the recent polls. And what this this has resulted in, at least in terms of the latest legislative fiasco, is an early Halloween president gift for Speaker Boehner, a flaming bag of you-know-what that he has no idea what to do with. I mean, all of these things are strengthening Obama. And Hogan talks about an economic message. I mean, get real, Hogan. The Republican Party a month ago was talking about going after Obamacare. They had no plan on that, and that has imploded. Republicans are running away from it. Then they spoke about using the debt ceiling as leverage. That has imploded as soon as the business community told them they were nuts. Now they're going after the budget shutdown. This is a process, if these guys knew anything about business, anything about the process of legislation, they would have started this the way everybody has done this for the last many decades. You start an appropriations process off in January, and you come to a process in October, you generate consensus behind that, and then you use the consensus that you generate widely to leverage it against the administration. Instead, they've come out at this last minute with no plan, no coherence, because they jump from health care to debt ceiling, now to the government shutdown. No, and nobody even knows what they're lobbying for. What is it they're leveraging for? What is the plan that on entitlements?
Very quickly, Hogan, because we have to
Julian,
go.
But look, I said that's today in the New York Times. We're fighting the same battle. Not only we lost that battle, and we're fighting it on the same battlefield we lost it on.
Absolutely,
it's ridiculous.
Absolutely, Julian Epstein, Hogan Gidley, thank you both. And I should tell you that we've got the great Jim DeMint.